411 Live.
Where you can learn about issues that impact us every day. State of world, 411 Live.
Real people, real talk.
Made to help people in our community in every way. Boy, your girl, 411 Live.
I want to start off this episode a little different, with a caution, because this episode deals with sexual assault. It may be a little different than what you've heard of before, though. Usually you hear of sexual assault of women. We are going to focus a little bit more on the victimization of a man. And we're also going to talk about sexual assault and its relationship to psychological identity theft. Hello, I'm Beverly Taylor. This is the 411 Live, Real People, Real Talk. I have some very special guests with me today. Simone Kilgore, and of course, you may remember her from past podcasts because she's been with us several times, and it's always good to have you back. Yes. She's a trauma therapist, and I have a surprise guest, Todd Jones, who is a neighborhood change agent, and I call him the surprise guest because I was told that this person was going to come, but I was not told who the person was going to be, just that I knew him. And when I walked in, saw him, and yes, indeed, I know him well. So this is the first time you've been on the episode with me, so on the podcast, so welcome. I am so glad to have you here.
Thank you.
We're talking about something that is sometimes it's kind of hush-hush, but it's happening all the time, and something we need to talk about. Before we get into it, though, to emphasize, little boys and men being victims of sexual assault, Todd, I want to go back to you because you were incarcerated, and we're going to get into all of that. You were incarcerated, but you did the work, and you were incarcerated for killing the perpetrator of your sexual assault. But after you've started doing the work, doing the therapy, into the healing, you had this moment where you spoke to a group of guys in the prison. You told them your story, and the reaction, and I say this because I've heard Todd's story many times, but the reaction that you got from those men after you revealed this, what was that reaction like?
It's knowing.
Yeah. Is it like a nod or a look?
It's almost like, to use the sports analogy, you think about the great duos, the Tom Brady and Gronkowski, the Aaron Rodgers and Devontae. It was a no.
Yeah.
I can give you a look, and you know what I'm about to do without me telling, and only you know it.
Yeah.
It was that. That was the reaction of familiarity. I think that's what the reaction is more so when you're in those moments and you see it. It's one of extraordinary familiarity.
Yeah. One of those, I know that you know that I know. Yeah.
It's the reaction and look that we have when we parent. When your kid and you know. We in this room amongst everybody else, but you and I know it's that.
Yeah.
It's many variables, but it's that one look to where you don't have to say anything to understand everything that person want to tell you.
Yeah. I think we would be surprised to know how many people who are incarcerated have been victims of sexual assault.
Yeah.
It's an extremely high percentage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's above 70, 80% probably.
It's close to 90s.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that, right?
Sure.
Because there's a lot of stuff that's going on when you have experienced that.
Yes, ma'am.
So I got that. We're going to go back to more, but Simone, just kind of get into what happens to you. What happens to a person's self-worth when this happens?
Yeah, I mean, the title of the show is a psychological theft It couldn't have been a better title to me, in my opinion, because sexual assault, any assault, but specifically in your formative years as children, when you're trying to identify who I am, how I'm supposed to be. My uncles say, toughen up. You know, my mom and them, you know, either because of a lot of responsibility on the parents, may not see a lot of things. And so adolescence is an extremely hard time for everybody, normally. Puberty, changes, societal pressures, why. If you grow up on the block and you got a bunch of friends and people doing different things at different houses at different times of night and day, it's already a psychological jungle for you to figure out, who am I in this? Am I the athlete? Am I the dude on the corner? Am I the lover boy? Am I the ugly fat kid? Am I the skinny fat kid? Whatever, you know? So you're trying to figure out who you are. For a perpetrator to harm somebody, period, is the worst offense on somebody's psychological well-being. But for a perpetrator to harm a child during their formative years, they're able to enter into this time period where you're forming parts of your brain, the hippocampus, the amygdala, where you make reasonable decisions. You reason and you figure out who you are in your formative years. So your amygdala, I say to parents all the time when kids say, why you do that? Why you didn't clean your room up? Why are you getting an F in that class? And kids say, I don't know. They really don't know, because the amygdala for young men doesn't really close and fully form until the age of 27. So that's why I say men start kind of growing up by 35, because they start making reasonable choices. Prior to that, they just flapping in the wind. You know what I mean? Unless there's a lot of structure and the ability to tap into their dreams.
Yeah.
Right? Mama, I want to be a scientist. Daddy, I want to play baseball. And those opportunities are given. But a lot of times we are growing up in these cities with parents that are trying to do the best that they can with the tools that they got from their people. And ain't nobody tapping into nobody's dreams. We trying to eat. We trying to make sure you go to bed at night and I think you got some sleep. I don't know. So for a perpetrator to study a child's innocence and the opportunity to attack, and they do that during the formative years, psychologically, it makes you think, I am of no value. Nobody cares, and this is what I should be utilized for, which is the pleasure of somebody else. The other thing about the body is that biologically, we all respond to touch. If I rub your back, if I hold your hand, if I touch the back of your neck, it should feel nice. And for a child who is also seeking attention and trying to tap into who they are, for anybody to keep paying them attention feels great and should. Biologically, if I am touched sexually, things in my body will change. My body will rise, it will rest, it will be enticed, it will be tickled, I will like it, because the body biologically responds to touch. That does not mean I'm turned on or attracted, but a child doesn't know that. So at some point, there's the confusion where the child believes, I must like this too if I keep letting this happen to me, but I'm powerless.
Yes.
My mama can't see it. My daddy can't see it. Or they can and they don't care. Or the person is stronger than me. Or they threatened me. Told me they're going to kill me and my mama and them. Or they beat us anyway. Or I see my parent as hopeless, helpless. I can't add to it. I don't want them to feel worse about the situation, so I'm going to stay quiet. So the perpetrator is bigger than life. And the child gets small and lost and confused and angry.
Yes.
And hurt. Anger is a secondary emotion that covers other emotions. That type of internalized pain causes anger, and you will want to kill somebody.
Right.
Harm somebody's. I might as well go do boom, 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 because don't nobody care anyway. And when I go in the house, stuff happen over there. So I'm going to stay in these streets.
Yep.
So that's why we see such a huge percentage of people, black, brown, yellow, white, red, go whatever color you want to say, whatever gender identity, sexual assault has no preference. I've worked with so many survivors of all types, of all socioeconomic backgrounds, people with a whole bunch of money, people with none.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Presbyterians to Muslim. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Perpetrators are everywhere. 1 in 3 women are affected by sexual assault and 1 in 5 men, and that is only what is reported. It is more prevalent than teenage pregnancy. It is more prevalent than high school dropouts. It is more prevalent than almost homelessness. We just don't talk about it.
Wow, I'm glad you brought up the percentages because, and the ratios and all of that, because that really brings it home to me.
Yes, ma'am.
It really does.
We all know survivors.
We all know.
We all know survivors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If I can add on to that, only in the sense of we all understanding and knowing survivors, not to say we all understand them. We know survivors,
We know.
right? The very things that we love to consume, there's a direct group of ingredients that we have to add to it. You had people going crazy over TikTok being removed because that allowed them to cook. They was able to get the right ingredient to taste and love the things that they enjoy. What Simone was just describing, and all of those words were the ingredients to violence.
You better say mix it up in a mixing bowl.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And we've been consuming that at the same rate that we've consumed the pleasurable things. That's why we all know someone. And we haven't eliminated any of those ingredients. Let's take away this ingredient. Let's take away this ingredient. We can change our palate, you know. So that was just something I thought about, is the words that she described that led to the bodies,
Yeah.
the violence. That those were the ingredients that was baked.
It's a start. It's like a starter kit. You start your kid. He got a brand new, beautiful baby. You start your kid out with a kit of what you dreamed for them, right? Until they can start saying, "Dad, I wanna boom, boom, boom."
Right.
If he hear his baby say, "I want to be a speed skater," we need to be at least looking into it, right? But a lot of our brothers have grown up in situations where nobody tapped into their dreams, you know? Yes, the other night I heard Todd say he was a baseball player. And my uncle played for the Yankees. And I remember when he said it, I looked at him and I said, he made up like a baseball. I saw the vision. It was weird. I saw him doing it. And then I almost cried. I'm about to cry now because why he couldn't have that?
Right.
You know, he could have, but nobody
There was nobody to nurture it.
could nurture that. And when you don't know who to trust, who to share with, I'm being hurt every day. Like he said, now we have new messaging that says, talk about it, somebody's there for you, you're never alone. But in the 80s, there were all them ads and articles and TV shows about sexual assault. It was a hush-hush. People did not talk about this. I mean, it wasn't until the late 90s we start talking about Catholic priests and people over the Boy Scouts and troop leaders. And now every day, I read 3 articles yesterday on human trafficking in Milwaukee and somebody putting somebody in the closet. Now we talk about it, but people used to never talk about it. And this is not new.
Oh, no. Yeah, you're right. It's
This
been
is
going
not
on a long
new.
time.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years.
And I promise that's where I give so much grace to my dad. You know, I probably spent more time with my son, right now that I spent with my dad really in hours, in totality.
And your son is what, 4
4
months?
months.
Yeah.
The totality of it. Like I've had a couple years with my dad while he was out, but in totality, I've easily spent more time with my son than with my dad, right? And part of my healing and in therapy and things like that was to be considerate. That was the only way I can heal.
Really?
Yeah, for me, I had to give everybody consideration. They deserved it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So in that consideration, I got to examining like all of my homeboys' dads, even the ones that I didn't know and maybe they didn't know. I was born in 81, right?
Yeah.
All of my friends was 79, 80, 81, 82, probably. It was a generation of black men that didn't have any identity.
Mm-hmm.
The cats in the 60s, they had an identity.
Mm-hmm.
They would shop.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they was going to hustle to take care of home.
Mm-hmm.
But they weren't going to hook their girls on heroin and cocaine. They'd do it.
Mm. Okay.
You know?
Okay.
So you're talking
I'm
about
with
the
you
crack
now.
epidemic too.
And then in the 80s, the crack epidemic hit. So a lot of our strong black men succumbed to it.
Yeah.
And by way of that, the girlfriends,
The mothers.
the mothers, the wives succumb to it, right? So in that, there's a generation of a lot of black men, our fathers, that didn't have no time really because money had left the household. In a lot of these communities, Reaganomics is real.
Right.
Money had left in the 80s.
Right. And if they were on the crack and hooked, that took precedence.
Yeah,
Over
robbery.
everything.
Over everything.
Over safety, over
Yeah.
provision, over food, over lights.
Yeah.
Kids felt alone.
Absolutely. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Todd, I want to, and I know people are listening going, so what's his story? I want to get to some of your story, okay? Hey, you're listening to the 411 Live.
Okay, so before we come over, can I ask a few questions?
Yeah, sure.
Do you have any pets?
Yes, we have a dog, but she's little.
Do you have any unlocked guns around the house?
We do have a gun, but it's stored securely, locked in a safe that the kids can't access. I appreciate you asking.
Yeah, of course. So does Friday work?
Sounds good to me.
All right, we'll bring pizza.
I debate all day. It's what I do. But there are some things that are undebatable, like your mental health. I was in a dark place when my brother passed away in a car accident. I was depressed in ways I never imagined. I reached out, and my sisters came, my pastor, my therapist. They helped me get through it. I found that the more I spoke up, the healthier my mind became. When you love your mind, you can go so much further. Find mental health resources at loveyourmindtoday.org.
Welcome back to the 411 Live. I am talking with Simone Kilgore, a trauma therapist, and I'm talking to Todd Jones, who is a neighborhood change agent. And we have been talking about sexual assault and its psychological identity theft. I want to turn to you, Todd, and we're jumping in the water here, because I want you to tell your story. I've kind of given snippets. You were incarcerated, you killed your perpetrator, you're a victim of sexual assault. How did all that lay out?
My life is my life. I can remember moments before my happiness started to wane.
Mm-hmm.
And most of all of those moments were in school, right? I come from an environment where my mom was on drugs heavily. My dad was absent heavily. He was incarcerated. My society, who had no idea who my father was, but was aware that he wasn't there, would tell me that I would be just like him whenever I came out of the door. You're going to be like your daddy. I don't even know who he is. You don't even know who he is, but you just know he absent. So you're preparing me for absence. And in that absence at school, that was the only place that I felt seen. I felt recognized. I was amongst my peers. Academically, I kicked their ass because that was my refuge. I was able to eat at school. I was able to just be amongst everybody and feel equal. Because again, we was there for academia, and could nobody get it better than me. So by that alone, because of the merit system, you hearing my name mentioned with upward bound, y'all gonna know who I am.
Right, right.
So that was the only thing that I really had to escape the madness, the trauma, the poverty that existed within my house, right? So those are the moments that I remember the most before my abuse started. My abuse started when I was 11 years old. And for me, you don't even know I didn't know that I was getting abused. I'm like, this nigga teaching me how to be a man. You don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Something about this gotta be right because you doing it. You live here. You be around. I've heard you talk about the behavior that, although I didn't know she was perpetrating, I heard you talk about the behavior with the words associated with this behavior with disdain. So I know you wouldn't do that. So you just kind of be like, this is what it is.
Yeah.
Especially when you're in an environment where there's drugs, there's guns and all this around. And the key thing that people tell you is to don't say nothing. Mm-hmm. Don't tell nobody.
Don't tell nothing that happened in this house.
Don't tell nothing. You better not tell them nothing. So when you hear that as a kid, don't tell nobody nothing, you know what that means, the severity, significance of that. So when someone who's in the household reiterate those words to you, regardless of for whatever reason, you know they're serious. Better not say nothing to nobody.
Right.
So you can't say nothing.
And he was the great manipulator.
Absolutely.
Opportunity.
Yeah.
And and the parallels are strikingly the same as it relates to the guys that prey on the kids to sell dope. The great perpetrators, the predators, right? So in my life, the more I started to be molested, touched, compromised, violated, confused, my light started to go off more and more on the inside. School was no longer a refuge anymore. It was just a place to be. Mm-hmm. You know? So my passion kind of turned to baseball because I was able to, exert some form of punishment on something. That ball, those base pads.
Right. That bat.
The opposition.
Mm-hmm.
Even the act of running.
You know what I'm saying? The opposition. And it's in hearing the act of running. Amongst the tools that I had, that was one of them.
And you were not, it wasn't just you, it was your sister as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
She was being victimized.
Yeah. And that being my best friend.
Yeah.
Right? So, boom, it's like you go through it almost kind of as a battle cry. We going through it together now. We ain't doing nothing alone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So what, and I'm just moving you a little bit because we're running out of time, but the point where you shot him.
Yeah. It was, you wake up and it's just a normal day. Pain is a recurrence. Just wake up, it's a normal day. You going through it, ain't you know it ain't finna be a happy one. Shit, you went to sleep hungry. You gonna wake up hungry. It ain't gonna be a happy. It's another day of survival out here.
Right.
And then you just can't take it no more. You see the looks on faces. You see the look on your sister's face like, damn. And you become the person that you feel that you always was, that man. You know, And the lesson in that, before I continue, is I always tell people to this day, never put another man, boy, in a position to where they feel like they're not that. They will do the most extreme thing to prove to you, to themselves, that they are that. You know? So after I shoot David Johnson, and I always say his name to everybody, he's a person.
Right.
And I'm a child of God. I wasn't anointed with a right to remove anybody from this earth. Wasn't my job, right? My grandmother, Lisa Esther Bill, a great lady. I went home and she said, "Baby, did you do it?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, you know what we got to do." And she worked third shift at the VA hospital for 30 years, a nurse. She drove me to 7th District. Turned me in that night. Turned myself in.
25 years in prison?
Yes, ma'am.
Going in prison at the age of
15.
15. You're in prison and kind of lingering there for a while. And finally, you get to the point where you want help. You got to do something about this. And you go through it. I know the process, and I know you know, the process had to be so difficult. And I'm just looking at the time on the clock, and it's just going away. But you worked at it. What would you say to men who are listening, who are trying to hide this stuff or trying to push it down or say, it doesn't matter to me? What do you say to them?
We do everything to show our happiness. We get a new car, we going straight to the hood. We finna show them. It's our happiness. We gonna post it. The successes, we gonna show those. And we do nothing to show our pain. We do nothing to teach those that will come after you and relate to those that came before you, right? So what I would say to them is that when we talk about truth, the greatest way to live your truth is to express your pain. Because that's the thing that you don't hide from everybody else, that you hide from yourself. My pastor, Monk, Raymond Monk, is my boy. We was kicking it the other day, and I'm in the process of becoming a deacon. Unorthodox as hell I am. And he said, here's the thing, Todd. Can't nobody use nothing against you. You open with everything.
Yeah.
And when I say that there's a peace and freedom associated with that.
Yes, sir.
That's the most fulfilling aspect. And when we was talking about the numbers being so high, it's that way because of the pain is being kept in.
Yeah.
The pain is being kept in. You do not have to go to prison to share your pain.
Oh, goodness.
You do not have to go to prison to share your pain.
I like that.
And it's not just the one that's up north. It's the one that's inside. You do not have to go into that place that exists inside you. That's the confinement aspect.
The internal prison.
You do not have to even walk into that door to let that pain out. Once you let that pain out, that door becomes locked. You can't even get in it no more. It don't need you.
Yeah.
You know, ain't nothing in here for you. What you looking in here for? You just told your truth.
It's freeing.
Yeah, so in our society, that's the hardest thing for us, black and brown. It's because we haven't seen it. We've seen people show us how to spread money expertly. We've seen people show us how to train and become a world-class athlete. We've seen people taught us how to be the greatest orators, preach, speak. We've never seen the black man show us what surviving sexual abuse looks like, raw.
Wow.
And that's why I would tell the other men is, as original, like when we talk to women, the first thing we say is, I ain't like them other niggas. I ain't like nobody else. Well, how original would it be if you was to talk about your pain? That's the most original thing you can be, because can't nobody else talk about it. So when you talk about your pain, you are not like anybody else.
Yeah.
Because no one else is like you. But what you will find is there's a community of brothers and sisters that look like you, that talk like you, that although they're not you, they understand.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you can exhale, because all you ever wanted and all we ever wanted as kids was to be understood. So our understanding was took at 5, 6, 7, 12, 21. But once we get in the company of people that understand, we get that understanding back, that peace, and then we heal each other.
Absolutely. I'm going to have to end it at that. It went like that. And I could sit here and listen to him for another hour.
You see me? I'm over here.
Shaking your head and nodding, right?
Just, if he on.
Todd, can I ask you if you would come back again and join us?
Yes, ma'am.
And talk a little bit more?
Yeah, you know that.
Simone,
Anytime he coming,
you coming too?
I'm coming.
All right, girl. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
You've been listening to Todd Jones, neighborhood change agent, and Simone Kilgore, who is a trauma therapist. We've been delving into sexual assault and its psychological identity of that. Thank you both again.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate y'all for talking about this topic.
Yes, me as well.
And thank you for joining us for another episode. Listen, we are a nonprofit, so if you'd like to partner with us, go to our website, the411live.org. We love bringing you interesting topics and fascinating people. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, I'm Beverly Taylor, and this is the 411 Live. Real people, real talk. If you would like to check out past episodes, there are many ways. Go to your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Like and watch us on Facebook. Watch and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have suggestions for future episodes, go to our website, the411live.org.